This invasion was so much fun. It was 38 minutes long. Now, what happened was I was doing invasions, and it started off. I was like, "Hey, should I invade you for 1 minute, or should I double it and give it to the next person?" And eventually, we ended up finding somebody. We found so many good people. They were like, "Hey, go ahead and double it and give it to the next person." And finally, I found some people who said, "Yes, we would like to be invaded for 38 minutes. That's what we would like. We want that to happen." And so it did. So it did. And we're in the sealed tunnel. And if you don't know about the sealed tunnel, it's in Altus Plateau, right outside Lindell. And it's full of illusory walls that invaders cannot interact with, like this one here. So I have to stand here, and I have to wait for the host and his friends to come down and hit that illusory wall before this invasion can begin. And there you just saw some people dropping down. So I figured I'll just wait here a little bit. They'll be here momentarily. I have sped this up to 8 times the normal amount. This footage has been sped up by 8 times. So you can imagine what it was like before, when I was just standing here, just waiting. But finally, they decided, okay, here we come. We're ready to play the game. And, there's a hole right here. It's a scary pit. It's got a robot in there. There's a bunch of little vulgar militiamen here. Look at the brave man. His name was Bravery Joe. Oh, Bravery Joe, we'll always remember your sacrifice. He was so brave of him to do that. And then they go into this little hallway, and there's a guy in there too, so they got to be careful of the guy. The guy will get them. And then I fell into the hole, and I thought to myself, well, you know what? They'll come down and maybe we'll fight in the hole a little bit. But they didn't come into the hole. And so they just stood there and hung out. But they were going to make it very difficult for me to get back up to fight. You can see that with the ladder shooting at me. And so now we're just kind of, stuck in the hole until we can get them to move away. And then we might be able to climb that ladder. There's an interesting community interaction with this ladder. People always write a message right next to the ladder. And so when you walk up to the ladder and you want to climb the ladder, instead you'll be prompted to read the message next to the ladder, unless you stand in a very specific way, and that's when you will be able to finally climb the ladder, which is super great and not annoying at all. Sometimes if you're invading in the sealed tunnel, that will work to your advantage, because most players they're not able to split their attention between all of the things that are happening. If that makes sense. Like, they are feeling nervous about what's in the hole, the robot and the vulgar militia. There's a lot of little vulgar dudes in the hole, as well as an automated whirly spinner. And so sometimes they're nervous about what's in the hole, and they're worried about the invader as well. There's an invader in the hole, and in that instance, maybe they're freaking out a little bit, and they're not paying attention to the message that is written on the ladder. And so, you can work in your advantage if you're an invader. But sometimes it works against you if you're an invader, just like in this scenario. Although, since we're familiar with the Hole, intimately familiar with it, and all of the Hole's little intricacies and the ways that you can get hung up inside of the Hole, we are, we're a little better off because we know that can happen, and we're thinking about it, and we're staying calm, and just having a good time. Now what we've done is we've gone ahead and we've made some volcano pots. They don't do a lot of damage, but that's not really the point. The point is that they are doing damage. Not much, but constantly doing some. And a lot of times this will sort of, trick people into thinking like, oh, I should move, I should make progress. I don't want to just stand here and take damage. But they're not really falling for it. And the reason I suspect that they're not, the Phantom, who typically, here comes another strong blue soldier. Look at him. Strong, powerful, honor soldier. We're going to come down here in the Hole, see if he'll follow us in there. But the reason I think that they're not too worried about it, I typically like to apply a lot of pressure to Phantoms, because Phantoms have their flasks cut in half, like I, the invader, have my flasks cut in half. So you can make a Phantom feel pressure before you can make a host feel pressure, if that makes sense, because of the difference in flasks there. Well, this particular Phantom, he's got that great shield, which gives him regeneration. He's constantly regenerating health. And so that little bit of damage from the volcano pots, he can just, kind of shrug that off, because the shield will give him that health back pretty quickly. And not to mention, he might also have the talisman that regenerates you, the Blessed Dew talisman, I think it's called. He might also have that on, a piece of the skeleton man armor. Might be wearing a piece of that. Who can say? But here we had another blue. They came down here. The robot got him. So now we've got our flasks back. We'll take this opportunity to make some more volcano pots. We're going to get healed up a little bit. We've got bestial vitality on this build so that I can also regenerate health, as well as the Blessed Dew talisman. That's gonna help us out quite a bit. We don't have to spend as many flasks, but they keep saying, would you like a blue, or should we double it and give it to the next person? And I kept saying, give it to me, give me the blue, because I know, the blue comes in and says, hey, my son, he really likes when I get rid of invaders. Can I come here and get rid of you? And I say, yeah, come on in. And he says, hey, why did you help today? And I said, well, I know a lot of people just, they have it really hard when they're blue. It's hard for them to connect to their children, because their children, they think that they're lame, and they think that they're just real boring bitches. And I didn't, I wanted you to be able to come on in here, Blue. And they say, well, guess what? I'm actually going to give you something. And I say, what, really? You're going to give me something? And they say, yeah, we're going to give you flasks because you got rid of us, because you were willing to help. And we're about community. And so I get flasks for that. And what happened was the Blues would give other people's flasks, and they'd say, do you want this flask? Or should we double it and give it to the next person? And so what happened was someone had turned it down. And so when they gave me the flask, it was actually 2 flasks. It was actually 3. I got 2 flasks of Crimson Tears, and I got 1 flask of Cerulean Tears because so many people had passed to double it and give it to the next person. And so it was just a wonderful showing of what happens when community gets together and looks out for one another. And here we go, we're right back at it. They're not moving. They're not making any progress. I'm not standing between them and their goal at all. These guys, I am not in any way a hindrance to them. And in fact, if they wanted to go fight the boss, they could just walk. Right now, they could just take the opportunity to just go to the boss right this minute. And sometimes in Elden Ring PvP and going back to Dark Souls, people would refer to everyone as gankers, and some people would say, oh, those people aren't ganking, they're co-oping. And sometimes, you could make the argument, but I think at a certain point we have to ask ourselves, what are they doing? Are they co-oping right now? Or are they just trying to team up on the invader? What's their objective look like? That becomes the question. And so if I'm not in between the group and the boss, if I can't stop them from getting to the boss, and they have still chosen to fight me over making progress, they've made the choice. Right? Now, I'm not saying they started off attempting to be gankers. I'm just saying that the opportunity appeared and they took advantage of it. So we're going to go ahead, we're going to use that Phantom Bloody Finger after getting some flasks back from the blue. And now a lot of you have said, Saint, do you know about the Phantom Bloody Finger? I've been asked in my comments for the videos for like the past week, Saint, do you know about the finger? It unscales phantoms. And what that means is that if you summon a password summoned cooperator, that phantom has their stats changed. They're not physically changed. The numbers themselves don't change, but the way the game interprets those numbers is changed, and the phantoms, lose out on some of their damage, and they lose out on some of their other stats. They're reduced. But when an invader uses that Phantom Bloody Finger, the phantom is freed from that. And the only explanation I have for that really is that you'll notice the Phantom Bloody Finger item description says that you are, quote, re-invading the same person. And I think that that's literally what's happening. I think you're leaving because if you've used the Phantom Bloody Finger, I'm sure you've probably had some strange things happen where, like, you'll invade and then you use the Phantom Bloody Finger, and suddenly you're somewhere else, like way different in the game, and the game disconnects you or something like that. It has some strange interactions. Sometimes, if a blue is loading into the game and you use the Phantom Bloody Finger, it will send the blue home because the game thinks that the invader is gone. There are some strange interactions, but the point, and the one that we're focusing on here, is that using that Phantom Bloody Finger has, if that phantom were password summoned, their damage is about to be a lot better than it was, and they're probably going to start taking less damage than they were if they were very high level. So yes, I am aware of that interaction. I hope that they fix it, because the last thing over-leveled phantoms need is another massive advantage like that. I don't have anything against people who summon the password summoned phantoms. Those people are, you know, the people who are summoning a password summoned phantom, a lot of those are the types of people who wouldn't typically play a game like this. And they're only playing it because they can play with their friend. And their friend is, level 300 or whatever. It's important to remember that not everybody, plays this game and then gets on the internet and looks up videos about this game and then goes on Reddit and talks about this game and reads Twitter about Elden Ring. Most people don't do that. They just play the game and they just have a good time. And, they maybe think about it a little bit. Maybe they watch a YouTube video about builds or something, but they're not where to find secret items and things like this. But they're not, as deep into the game as, the PvP community or the challenge run or the speedrun community. These people aren't into the game in the same way. It's not, so I don't have anything against that. It's a very casual experience. People want an easy mode in these games, and they have it by summoning their friend. And what's beautiful about it is the game doesn't tell you that you've selected easy mode. It doesn't make you feel like you did any worse for selecting easy mode. In fact, it doesn't even tell you that it is easy mode. It's actually maybe like the best implementation of an easy mode I think that there has ever been, because the game doesn't make you feel bad about selecting it. It doesn't talk down to you. It doesn't say, okay, well, guess what? It's time for you. Here's your bottle, baby. It doesn't do any of that. In fact, it rewards you. It gives you like prizes for, runes and items and things like this. In the other games, it would actually give you like, covenant items. And so the idea of co-oping, it wasn't like, it wasn't making you feel bad about selecting easy mode. It was rewarding you for selecting easy mode. My point being that I don't mind the password summoned phantoms, but the last thing that they need is to be unscaled. If someone uses a phantom bloody finger, that should absolutely be fixed, for sure. These guys, they just keep throwing me in the hole, and I just keep climbing out of the hole. Remember, you are 17 minutes and 56 seconds into this video. This invasion was, like I said at the beginning, 38 minutes long before I edited it down to its current 20 minutes and 15 seconds worth of length. So you can imagine how much just standing around, sitting here, not doing nothing happened in this invasion. Just a real measure of patience required in order to take advantage of the things that I had, as well as just staying alive, right? Just some R1 straight sword spam versus Moonveil, no big deal. And look here, I said, okay, I've been parrying you guys. So here's the deal. I've missed a few parries. And you might be saying, Saint, you missed some of your parries. And I did, it's true. But what was happening was I was saying, alright, should I parry you? Or should I double it and give it to the next person? And they kept saying, double it and give it to the next person. And so that's what I would do. And I would say, hey, why did you help out today? And they would say, oh well, I just know what it's like, to not be able to buy potato chips for your son. Anyway, now's the time. He said to double it. I tried to parry him. He said double it and give it to the next person. And I said, okay. That's what I'm gonna do. Double it and give it to the next person. Double it, give it to the next person. What a really fun, group of duos of men people. And in that hole. They wanted to keep me in that hole, but I came out. I came out, and I'm going to put you in the hole. And you're going to put the lotion on your skin. Later, y'all.